was the day I died. And that was a pretty big one. Just a minor event in my life, right? Okay. Do you see the pattern? Right? Events control beliefs. Beliefs control physiology. Physiology manifests physiological change in our body, chemical imbalances manifest as all this stuff. Yeah?
Fist bump.
Huh?
Fist bump.
Fist bump. Give me a fist bump. Okay. So what we need to do then is we need to understand if it controls our physiology, what does that look like? Because if we don't understand that, how are we ever going to change? Right? So what we're going to do is I want you to go to the third page, and that page should be your serotonin graph. Okay, to save time, I want you to focus on this area of the graph that I wrote words in there. What did I write? Okay, so it turns out that while every single human being is unique, there is none other like you, we are extremely unique in relationship to our hormones in terms of our chemical output. So this one neurotransmitter, serotonin, if you can read down to the bottom, acts as a neurotransmitter, a type of chemical that helps relay signals from one area of the brain to another. Serotonin is made up from the essential amino acid tryptophan. This amino acid must enter your body through your diet and is commonly found in foods such as nuts, cheese, and red meat. Tryptophan deficiency can lead to lower serotonin levels. This can result in mood disorders such as anxiety or depression. It also plays a role in sexual desire and function, appetite, sleep, memory and learning, temperature regulation, and some social behaviors. Okay? So out of all the neurotransmitters that we manufacture in our bodies, remember, I think 3 weeks ago we were discussing the fact that the human mind does 100,000 chemical reactions per second. And those chemical reactions dictate the balance that occurs within the mind in terms of how many neurotransmitters are available at any one given time. So that rate in which the body does that, the speed in which we do our own chemistry, take these amino acids, combine them into complex chemical structures called neurotransmitters, that speed that controls that is called our metabolic rate. Does that make sense? So our metabolic rate can make serotonin on a daily basis on a certain level. Okay? So what we need to know then is, looking at B1, the dog bite, what is the representation of events leading to trauma in our life, and how does it affect our serotonin? Okay? Because you can see on your page that what happens when you cross below this line. Read those out loud.
Cursing, anger, hatred, behavioral issues, anxiety, worthlessness, depression, but also suicide.
Which a lot you're going through, because I was there, I know. I did it for 3 years, basically nonstop, 10 years overall. So I know what you're living, okay? So here's where it gets really interesting. Every human being, when their serotonin level is up, experiences this. It doesn't matter white, black, green, yellow, it doesn't matter anything, male, female. When it's low, we all act like this. You understand that? It's unique to the fact that everybody reacts the same. When their serotonin is up, they feel great. When it's down, they feel horrible. Okay, so now the child gets bit by the dog. So what happens is, in the minor case, where the child got bit, just nipped, there was a dip in the serotonin level. And this is what happens in every single traumatic experience in our life. There is an immediate and direct effect on the serotonin level. Okay? It's the very first thing that occurs. So, because it didn't cross over the median threshold, the midpoint, the child still could feel relatively happy and understand life and be okay with themselves. But in the case where the child got bit 3, 4 times, depending on how far this crashes, dictates, and that's why I listed them this way, because you see at the top is what? Anger? Cursing, and then at the bottom is suicide, right? So depending on how far this drops, dictates the response. Makes sense, right? Very, very logical, right? You all have heard people, stories I'm sure, of big, financial people, millionaire, multimillionaires, or billionaires. They lose all their money in one day. What do? They kill themselves. Because the severity, in their case, because they were used to having so many material items and being able to buy anything they want, when they lose that ability and don't have Christ, this crashes to the ultimate. And the sad thing is, if they would just wait 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, the metabolic rate of the human being would have reconstructed the normal level of serotonin, and they wouldn't have had to kill themselves. They only kill themselves because of the severity of the drop. Crazy, huh? It's really that simple. So, let me just make sure I check my notes out here.
Why don't doctors, why do they give you Prozac and stuff like that? It's this simple.
I'm so glad you asked that. You get it out of girl. So Prozac.
It's really bothering me.
Okay, so Prozac is what is called a serotonin uptake inhibitor. So the thing that's unique about serotonin is it's made in limited quantities. When it's used, it gets rapidly depleted. So there's always basically a shortage of serotonin availability within the human body. And so they came up with this great idea where we'll just block the uptake, the uptake mechanism that wants to capture that and recycle it, so that we can keep more serotonin available to do the emotional control. Okay? The reason why it doesn't work is they're not addressing the root cause. They're not addressing the belief.
That's right.
So
That's
when you,
right. It's like a Band-Aid.
so when you
That's
come
what
off of
Band-Aid
it and it slaps you in the face even harder, is that?
I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to graph it out. I'm going to show it to you, and you're going to be like, why don't doctors know this?
Okay.
Because they don't listen to the Holy Spirit. The only reason why I know this, I have no background. I took pre-med in 1974 to 1976. How long ago was that? That's my entire background. I have no background in this.
I have a question. Is there not a spiritual aspect to the whole?
I am going to
Suicide.
show that. You're
Okay.
getting ahead of me. When we go over there, you're going to learn the whole thing. But that's another great thought. I'm glad you're thinking that way. Okay, so that makes sense? This makes sense. Okay, so here's what happens. Because there's so much going on, and it's putting so much pressure on the human mind, because the mind now has to ramp up because of all these unresolved traumatic experiences and all these bad beliefs in our heart, and our heart is controlling our physiology. It's producing the wrong chemical output within our bodies. This thing really starts to drain us, okay? And it starts growing. So we're just gonna, and I want you to do this on your paper. Put some branches. Make this look more like a tree. Okay? And then we're going to put some leaves on this tree because it really is growing. Okay? I don't know if that looks like a tree to you, but it looks like a tree to me. Okay? Make sense? The roots are tapping into our physiology, tapping into our body, draining our nutrients, right? So what happens is it creates this huge, and I want you to do this, make a circle, this huge demand on our physiology. And what we do is we identify falsely the signals coming from our mind in terms of the way we interpret the need, okay? And now by that I mean the human mind, the only source of fuel that the human mind can function on is glucose. So when we eat sugar, the body converts it into glucose, and then the mind can use the glucose to do more chemistry. So in essence, you know that if you give a 3-year-old chocolate, what happens? They bounce off the walls, right? Do you know why? Because the sugar did what?
Made them hyper.
It made them hyper, so it increased their metabolic rate, right? They went from a normal rate to an increased elevated rate, right? Okay, I'm going to show you how important that is. So here's what happens. This thing starts draining us and draining us. So we start looking to compensate. We look to compensate with sugar. And I want you to write this down, please. Alcohol, drugs, and speed. All forms of speed. Caffeine, meth, you name it, diet pills. Right?
What about love?
Excuse me?
What about love? Like
What about love?
finding it in the opposite.
We're going to discuss all that today. Right now, I have to show you how you got here. I have to show you so that you can accept the responsibility, so that you can visualize it, because when I give you the answer, I'm going to give you the answer over there. But if I gave you the answer and you didn't understand this, what good is it? You don't even know what the root cause is. You have to know what the root cause is. Okay.